Welcome to A Pair of Bookends, the book club you can carry anywhere. I'm your host, Hannah MacDonald, and I'll be bookending the conversation with some of the most exciting voices from the bookish world. Hello and welcome to Books to Screen, the series where I invite bookish guests to join me for deep dives into my favourite topic, adaptations. For our latest instalment, I am joined by a very recognisable voice, someone that could arguably be described as the sexiest voice in books podcasting. Sorry, Joseph.
I'm so excited about this intro. Perfect.
And that is Amanda Moulson. Amanda is someone who knows more than a thing or two about books. You can find her reviewing a wide range of reads over at It's Smalley Reads on Instagram. You might find her browsing the bookshops of London and Whitstable or reading with a coffee in her garden. You could also find her gallivanting around book festivals or prize events. And as Amanda describes it herself, my life is words. Outside of the bookish world, Amanda works in comms, or is that outside of the bookish world? But one day soon will undoubtedly be the next best-selling author, as she's just finished writing her debut novel, Inside Scoop, guys. Most of you, I'm sure, will know Amanda from the incredible Curious Readers podcast, which she co-hosts with Joseph Dance, a bi-weekly show with episodes ranging from deep dives into specific reads, prize lists, discussions on genres, and much, much more. It is well worth a listen if you haven't already. Today, Amanda joins me to discuss Margo's Got Money Troubles, which Amanda herself reviewed as so clever, so modern, and so entertaining. Margo's Got Money Troubles tells the story of Margo Millett, the daughter of a Hooters waitress and an ex-professional wrestler. Margo finds herself pregnant by her English professor and, in order to stay afloat financially, signs up to become a creator on OnlyFans. The novel was written by American novelist Ruthie Thorpe and was published in 2024. It was a finalist for the Kirkus Prize and has received rave reviews, including The Times, where it was described as both a whip-smart novel and a wholly original tale. The novel has been adapted into an Apple TV series by David E. Kelly and premiered in April this year, with Ruthie Thorpe on board as an executive producer. The series holds a 96% Rotten Tomatoes score, which is no surprise when it's led by the stellar cast of Elle Fanning, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Nick Offerman. Amanda, I may not be your only fan, but I am a fan. Welcome to A Pair of Bookends.
Oh my God, thank you so much. That is the best intro I've ever had, and I want to insist that you are my new PR. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you. I feel like you're a friend already, you know, from listening to you and Joseph all the time and following you on Instagram and chatting to you, but now I get to put a face to it and I love it. So yeah, thank you so much.
No, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I feel the exact same way, and this is the dream. I know we both love this book, so to be able to discuss it is just fantastic.
Can't wait. There is so much for us to dive into, but I have prepared you with some quick fire questions on adaptations. Are you ready?
I am, I think.
You've got this. I believe in you.
All right.
Okay, kicking us off. What is your best adaptation?
Okay. So this one, I feel like I wish I could give you a really erudite answer and something that is just like kind of, far reaching and things like that. But it's a pretty standard pick. And this is Pride and Prejudice.
I knew you were going to say that.
I just love it. And I love the Joe Wright version specifically. So I know the BBC one, we've got Colin Firth in the pool, and that has really pinned itself in people's minds. But I absolutely love the version with Keira Knightley. I love, isn't it? I just love everything about it. And I actually like the way that England shone, like the sense of place in that I thought was above and beyond. And I remember, because it's pretty old now, shockingly, like it feels like it's recent in my mind, but it's a few decades old. And I remember I was in the process of moving from the US to the UK, and I saw the light in that final scene where Lizzie comes together. She's like walking in the moors and the dawn is so beautiful. And I thought, gosh, when I leave the UK, I would miss that. I would miss that light. And then,
Mhm.
that was me thinking I would only be here for a few years. And now 2 decades later, I won't leave. So,
Here you are.
yeah.
I actually visited Chatsworth House for the first time in November, I think it was. We did the whole like Christmas at Chatsworth, and they had the gorgeous light installation thing at the side of the house, and it was so gorgeous. But my one of my friends that I went with, she would not stop reenacting
Oh
scenes
my God.
from it. It was a whole thing. We had to, video her. She was having a moment, and
That's incredible. I went to Chatsworth House myself last April, and
no
it's
way.
it does put you in that mindset where you're like, I've got to start reenact. It's so beautiful.
It's gorgeous. The
Yeah.
the gardens are amazing.
Oh,
We cannot stay on this. I have
I
to
know.
continue forward. What is your best character casting?
Okay, so this is Jane Austen again, believe it or not, and this is Gwyneth Paltrow, who I thought made an outstanding Emma. I just thought she walked that line of being like lovable and lovably reprehensible at the same time.
Love that. That's a great answer. An adaptation that you would love to see.
I don't think this is in the works. I wish it were, but I hope that I'm not cheating on this question. It's Burnham Wood by Eleanor Catton.
Oh,
I feel like that would be so timely. You've got the tech oligarch Bond villain level character, and then you've got the eco thriller element of it. I just feel like it is really prime for this time of life.
I actually haven't read that yet, and I've heard so many good things. So I feel like you've just made me want to get my hands on it.
Oh, good, good. It's a good
Um,
one.
do you read before you watch?
Sometimes I
Yes.
I do entertain myself when I form wildly biased opinions based on not having read something. So, for example, Rivals. Right now, I'm like, I love Rivals. It's amazing. It's so specific, and people are like, "Oh, you've read Jilly Cooper?" And I'm like, "No."
No. It is a great series though, and I have not read Jilly Cooper, so I can't speak on that either,
See?
but it's such a good series. I was obsessed. So
I am too. Yeah,
great
yeah.
choice. I also read Margo's Got Money Troubles alongside watching the series, which I
Ooh.
haven't done before. I've either done it, I've watched it and then realized it's a book and then have gone and read it, or I've read it and then watched the adaptation. But this is the first time where I've been doing it alongside each other, which has been quite a strange experience, but one I enjoyed. I think I was quite insufferable with my boyfriend, being like, "This isn't what it's like in the book. I've got to this."
That was me with I actually watched it with my family because they have Apple TV. And I was like, no, that's a
This isn't the
departure.
same.
Yeah.
What is an upcoming adaptation that you're excited for, or one that you've enjoyed recently?
So I have heard that Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver is going to be adapted, and I'm
I
not
didn't know
sure.
this.
Yeah, I'm not sure when it will be out, but I have seen that teased on her Instagram. I think that will be incredible.
Yes, that is very exciting and going to be an
Yeah,
emotional one, I think.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. An author that you think would be great at writing for screen.
Okay, this one is a bit outer limits, and I have to say there would probably be a lot of editing and a lot of ratings. I'm not sure if you read Rejection by Tony
I
Tilamute.
haven't yet, no.
So it's kind of crazy. It's a novel in stories, but I think that the way that they weave together lends itself to screenwriting, insofar as you could see characters passing back and forth and really bring some of that text to life.
Mhm.
Now, having said that, a lot of it is very, very raunchy and probably couldn't be brought to life so easily, but
Uh,
it could be fascinating.
I'm so intrigued about this book because anybody I hear speak about it says a mixture of things. They really love it, but then they're also like, oh God, but then there's this and there's this. But then they won't say what this is. They're just like
Yeah.
either horrified or like by a certain element of it. And I'm like, what are you all talking about? I'm quite
Yeah.
scared.
Maybe with reason. Yeah.
What is an adaptation that you hated?
Oh gosh, I'd love to hear your answer on this as well. A Prayer for Owen Meany is one of my favorite books. That's by John Irving, and the adaptation of that is called Simon Birch because, as I understand it, it was so bad that John Irving was like, "I cannot give you my main character's name to even use in this." And it stars Ashley Judd. This is going back a long time ago, but it just was really twee. It was
Oh
really awful.
no,
Yeah,
what a shame. That
I
is,
know.
yeah. That's a real
I know.
shame. I'm trying to think if there's one that I've actually hated, and I can't think off the top of my head, but I do know that I was really disappointed with the adaptation of Conversations with Friends. And I'm such a Sally Rooney fan, and I thought Normal People was so perfect, and I was expecting the exact same vibes for Conversations with Friends, and it didn't do the same for me. So I was quite sad about that.
Yeah, I agree with that actually. You're right. It just didn't
Yeah,
hit the same way. Yeah.
not at all.
Mm.
Shall we get into Margot's Got Money
Let's
Troubles?
do it.
I am really, really excited to get into this one, and I do think that it is a really interesting adaptation. But I'd love to know, first of all, when you sort of first came across the book.
I came across the book. I think I was a bit late to reading it. I feel like I had seen it be teased on Bookstagram quite a bit before I picked it up, but I believe it was probably a little more than a year ago today that I read it. And I just adored it from the first page.
I love that. And you did do a really great review of that book on your Instagram. So I will be linking your Instagram in the show notes for people to find your book reviews. But I think we should begin with Margot as a character because I do think she is a very original character. I really took to her, and I think she is a very memorable one. And I wondered how you felt about her character in the novel versus how Elle Fanning sort of brought her to life.
You know what? I thought that there were elements of Elle Fanning's performance that brought her to life beautifully because the one thing that Margot is above and beyond anything else, above and beyond being a very talented creator and writer, is she is besotted with her child. And she's a
Yes.
really good daughter as well, right? So she's
Yeah.
a good mother and she's a wonderful daughter. And I thought that Elle Fanning played her with such compassion, where you almost just want to be more Margot. Like, I wish I were that patient with my own parents. I wish I were that unconditionally loving.
Oh my God, 100%, a hundred
Yeah.
percent. Yeah, I found her dynamic with her parents so interesting. And I mean, there's so much that we'll probably get into in terms of her relationship with her dad, her relationship with her mom. But you're so right, she did have a real patience with them that I think I've really had to learn that over time. Whereas she just has it instantly, doesn't she? You know,
Yeah.
it really makes you think about what was her childhood like for her to become the person that she is. I do think, the exploration of her as a mother as well was really beautiful. There's a moment that I keep thinking about in the series where we have the CPS visit, and there's this beautiful moment where she's changing her son's nappy, and she's really in the moment and like, having this gorgeous connection with her son, but then she glances up and like the fear on her face when she's looking at the man and looking back at her son, and it's just you can tell the idea of her losing that is just completely unbearable to her.
Yeah, I know that exact scene, and it actually gave me chills when you mentioned
Yeah.
it because it was so striking when you watch it. It's a perfect scene, I think, in
Oh my
terms of
God,
conveying that.
a
Yeah.
100%. The anxiety that scene brought me. I mean, I'm jumping way ahead here, but the anxiety that scene gave me is just both in the book and in the series, actually. I want to talk about there's something that I really loved in terms of the way Margot narrates the book. And it's that there's this really cool thing that Ruthie Thorpe does, which is she shifts between first person and third person narration. And there's a real sort of, in the way that she does it, it feels like there's a real kind of look to camera element in the novel, which is obviously really clever considering the subject matter. Did you find that kind of jarring, that sort of shift in narration, or did you enjoy it? Because I did enjoy it, so I wondered how you felt.
That is a really good question because I was at first very jarred by it, but
Mm.
that lasted only a few pages. When I first picked up the book, I thought, "Wait, what just happened? I need to
Yes.
backtrack." And then as soon as I could slot it in and how it served the structure, I thought it was brilliant and I loved it. And it's only, and forgive me if I'm actually missing it, but I feel like it only comes into the screen adaptation in the very first beats of the screen, right? And she's writing in a journal and then it doesn't come back.
Yes, I think at the very end as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes, she's on her bed at the very end writing, and then we obviously have the final look to camera, which
Yeah.
feels like a nod to that as well. So yeah, I think it is the first sort of part of the series and then the end part of the series that's done. Yeah, I thought it was really beautifully done, and the moment in the book where it's done really well is, and I'm really annoyed at myself for not noting it down word for word, but she talks about how being in your 20s and being young, that there's certain things that you do, or there's certain ways that you think where, oh, I'm describing this terribly, but it's the moment before she realizes about her dad and his relapse.
Right.
And you know, as soon as it's a really small paragraph, but you know, as soon as you read it, that something bad is about to happen. And
Right.
it just gives you complete anxiety. And
Yeah.
I thought it was pulled off so well.
I agree. It's a very anxiety making book. I
Yes.
have a friend who wrote me a few weeks ago and said, I know you love this book, but I am overcome with anxiety about her losing the baby. And I
Yeah.
can't see how she'll be able to keep him. So I do want to stop reading unless you tell me to go on.
Oh my, did they continue?
I was like, without spoiling it, maybe just turn a few pages.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, she's really good at that sort of build, and I think that really translates well to screen as well, in the way
Yeah.
that they build that up. The whole, I'm rushing ahead, but that whole build up to it was just anxiety inducing is the best way to describe it, I think. I want to get into the sort of OnlyFans aspect of it all because it's having a really big moment in television at the moment.
Mm,
I don't know if you watch Euphoria, but the latest season of that goes into OnlyFans with Sydney Sweeney's character. I know that there's another series that I haven't watched called Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed, I think it's called, and
wow.
that apparently explores cam work. So it seems to be quite a prominent thing in TV at the moment. And personally, wasn't a fan of the way Euphoria explored sex work. Wasn't the biggest fan of it. But I wondered how you felt this series and book explored sex work. What do you think of the portrayal of it?
I think we are such kindred spirits is the first thing that I want to say because I actually have not watched season 3 of Euphoria because 1 and
Don't bother.
2 it's too distressing to me. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not comfortable living in a world where I feel like young women are objectified like
Yes.
that. And I didn't like the male gaze, for lack of a better word,
No.
through which Euphoria was shot, right?
Yes.
I feel like Margo's Got Money Troubles is the exact opposite. I feel like it is
100%.
empowered. You've got somebody who's at the center of her creation. She wants to own that content. She is working it. She's making art out of it.
Hmm.
And it is just such a different portrayal. You come away feeling so different. And I think that serves the plot of the book too, because she needs to get these people to help her. This is all about a community forming around Margo and a village raising this child. And part of that is the content creation and how they're helping that and the love of her parents in accepting this. And you couldn't do that if you were just an object. Like no parent would stand behind Euphoria level cam work. I would hope
No.
not.
No.
Right.
I
But they
feel
could get behind Margo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think and there was so much nuance to the work that Margot's doing and the way that it was explored. And I think it was interesting that Margot is still sort of learning about sex work and the way that it's discussed throughout. You know, even as she's enjoying it, she's still sort of making errors in her judgment around it. So there's like conversations with the other creators that she meets and becomes friends with. So we have, it's Casey and Rose, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I'm like, sounds right.
so she becomes friends with these creators and she starts making videos with them. And Margot has this whole thing about like not wanting to show her vagina on camera. And you know, she says that she's trying to, I wish that I'd noted down exactly what she said, but she you know, she talks about wanting to sort of keep that private and, you know, feeling a certain way about it and not wanting to reveal that. And Casey says to Rose, like, you're gonna have to deal with her right now because I can't deal with whatever whatever kind of route she's trying to go down in this conversation. I'm not having it. Because she said, you know, they're basically saying like, oh, you should show that, like you're gonna get, you know, much more money, you're gonna get more fans, do it, and you know, be empowered by that choice. And she's like, oh, you know, I'm really not sure. And she's almost judgmental in at the idea of herself showing that. And I found that journey really interesting, that she's sort of going on this journey of empowering herself. Does any of that make sense, what I just said?
all of it makes total sense because I thought it was really brilliantly done, actually. Because I
Yes.
think a lot of us who are not in sex work are like, oh wow, showing my vagina on camera would be a big deal. And for
Oh,
them to
yeah.
break it down that way and then talk about how important that moment even is.
Hmm.
So to have first eyes on it and you need to maximize this moment commercially, which
Yes.
I think probably sounds quite crass as we discuss it, maybe, but it is not that way. It
No.
just, yeah, it just breaks it down in a very interesting way. And the word that I keep using, an empowered way, you just owning what you've got.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
also think that I wondered what your thoughts were on this because I didn't know if it was necessarily believable that her dad would have known about OnlyFans before she did.
Oh, right. Yeah, because he knew a wrestler who was like
Yes,
evicted from the ring for doing an OnlyFans on the side or something like that.
yes.
Yeah, you're right about that. OnlyFans is the domain of a lot of very young people, and she's quite switched on. Like even the character of Margo, you can see she's on trend. She's not this shy wallflower that's not
Yeah.
engaging with the world. Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, I did wonder if it was because I don't know if we necessarily know in the book and series where we are in time. If it was modern, but I didn't know whereabouts we were. It was making it sound like OnlyFans was like a sort of new thing and it wasn't the sort of phenomenon that it is now. But I didn't know where we were at in time. So I was like, maybe he's heard of it because his friend in wrestling has come to it and that's the reason why like, it's maybe not become a mainstream thing yet. That was the only way that I could kind of excuse that or make it believable for myself that she wouldn't have heard about it first. I also came across this article with Variety that I wanted to mention where they spoke about how sex work is being explored in TV at the moment. And they spoke to A.M. Davis, who is a sex worker turned activist, who said, in regards to TV and film exploring sex work, she said, I urge people to consider when they watch a sex worker be portrayed, is the sex worker being portrayed as a victim, a villain, both, or something else? Because if they're being portrayed primarily as a victim or villain, I wouldn't trust the ethics or the accuracy of the rest of the program, which I thought was a really interesting comment because I think Euphoria definitely goes wrong in so many places in terms of the exploitation of sex work, but in this series I don't feel like she was Margo was a kind of victim in the situation she found herself in, but not in terms of sex work.
Yeah.
She enjoys the work that she creates and the art that she's making, and it allows her to be creative where she's maybe not writing a novel or something that she might want to be doing. She's still getting to utilize her writing skills and create these scripts and bring to life these sort of short films that her and these other creators are making. So yeah, I found that a really interesting comment, and I thought it applied really well to this series.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect encapsulation of it actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's great.
definitely. I also just wanted to mention as well how amazing the spaceship was at the very end.
No.
It's so good.
It's so good. And this is what I love about Margot's Got Money Trouble. I think we just need to talk about how perfectly plotted it is in a lot of ways. So I know that that spaceship is something that it's a prop on set and it's beautifully brought to life. But when Ruthie Thorpe wrote this, like she just lined up all the pieces beautifully. So she
Mhm.
gives you a mother who worked in Hooters.
Yes.
So like this whole sense of, yeah, we can do this to make money. There's a precedent for this. The whole idea of the showmanship of professional wrestling and
Hmm.
the costumes and the narratives that go with that, right? And even the community. And then what I think is so cool is adding Susie in with the cosplay. And
Yes.
so that you get all these people that could actually make that spaceship come to life and to make this content so cool. And I just love that. I love how well conceived everything about it is.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think the whole idea of her village in terms of the child, I think there's also a village that she has in terms of the work that she's creating and the art that she's making. And I loved seeing them all come together for that. I do just want to say though on the subject of Susie that I love Susie so much.
I cannot. She is the beating heart of both the book and the adaptation. I love Susie. I
So
love
much.
her.
Yes, absolutely. It is Fadia Graham, I believe. And me and my boyfriend were talking about this actor last night because we watched her in Bad Sisters and she played a police officer, I think, in Bad Sisters. And we found her character completely insufferable in Bad Sisters. And then in this, we found her so endearing. And we were like, it is so magical when an actor can make you feel two completely opposing things about different characters they're playing. I just
Yeah.
think she was magic as Susie.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, I just love Susie so much on the page that I was like, how is she going to come to life? How can anybody meet my expectations for how brilliant Susie is? And she did, and it's
Yes.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yes. She also, there was a really, really great section in the book where Susie and Margot are sort of talking about sex and sexuality and the sort of conversation around like sluts. I do quotation marks for this and the sort of use of that word. And I thought Susie was just so switched on in this moment. I mean, she has this really funny moment where she's talking about how Susie was brought up by a quite religious family and she as a sort of loophole because she'd always been taught that thinking about naked people was sinful, but she'd found a loophole and was masturbating over SpongeBob as a child. I thought it was so good. Oh, it made me laugh so much. But we have that moment and then it leads beautifully into this whole conversation where Margot asks her like, "Do you think I'm a slut because she's doing this?" And Susie really gets into like the nitty-gritty of the meaning behind that word and she says, "Well, are you having sex with all these people?" And Margot's like, "No." And she's like, "Well, I think, in fact, I folded down the page. She says, "It seems weird to say a celibate person is a slut. Like you're just pretending words have meaning at that point." And I just thought that was such a perfect way of articulating it. They really get into in this conversation, they get really deep into it. And she says, think about it. If a girl doesn't know she's hot and is innocently going about her business, and some guys spy on her naked, she's not a slut. But if she knows guys want to see her naked and charges them money to spy on her, she's a slut. The same physical thing is happening in both scenarios. Guys see her naked body. It's just in the second one, she knows what's going on and she's in control.
Hmm.
Who doesn't want a friend like Susie?
Who doesn't? Honestly, honestly. And I remember dog earing that page myself because I just thought it was such good food for thought. And I will say right now that I used Margot's Got Money Trouble as a comp in my own writing, which has shades of sex work within it. But it's because of ideas like that where you do
Yes.
realize the hypocrisy of it. And it's absolutely true. You can be a victim and not be a slut, but as soon as you own it, you are one. And that, I think it just tilts that on its head and it goes to everything we said about euphoria and why this is empowering. And I love it. I'm here for it.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's probably in terms of the hypocrisy of it all, it's probably a good time to mention the adaptation as a sort of portrait of modern America. And Amanda, I'm sorry you are our American spokesperson right now on the
Uh,
podcast.
I wish I weren't, but I'm happy to
Well,
chime in.
I wondered how accurate you feel it was in terms of this portrait of modern America, because we have these sort of class aspects with the contrast between the professor that she has an affair with, his family, their wealth, and then her own family, and the money they don't have and the jobs they've done. We also have the exploration of addiction. We have conversations around abortion, and we have this sort of undercurrent of religion, especially through the lens of Kenny, which is a character I do want to get to. But yeah, what are your kind of thoughts on the way it presents modern America?
Yeah. Well, I have one caveat here, which is that I have not lived in America for about, I think it's like 23 years or something crazy by
Okay.
now. So it has been a while. But what I absolutely loved about this adaptation is its portrayal of America and about California very specifically, which is a very special place within America that I think you can see, even on the screen, has this weird element of being like stuck in the 1980s at the same
Mm.
time as it is this hotbed of trends that travel all around the world in the form of Hollywood and celebrity culture. But it's a little bit anachronistic in and of itself. Like
Hmm.
California is a weird little ecosystem, and the light they captured perfectly. Some of the architecture, how some of those buildings are so stuck in time, and and so that does not necessarily make it modern America. But I think to your exact point, the class differential is pitch perfect. I
Hmm.
think the way that Margot is portrayed and the kind of, I say this in quotes, like the family that she comes from and the jobs that they've had is exceptionally working class. The scrabble that she is doing to try to make ends meet and then can't, and then is that does up the stakes and force her into this cam work. The religious element is fascinating. The way her mother is faking it is fascinating, I think, and
Yes.
going along with it, which is its own form of, going to sound quite extreme, but sex work, right? Like if you're just getting into a marriage because somebody can fund you and resource you
Yes.
and you need that security, that is a different transactional relationship. I think it's very timely, but also timeless in that weird way that California is.
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to, I was just thinking about the relationship that you touched on there with how her mum is kind of faking it for her fiance, then husband, Kenny. Is he a pastor? Is that what you
Yeah.
call it?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not very good with like strands of religion. Is he Christian? Like, is there a specific strand that he is? I can't remember.
I don't remember the specific one, but I know he's a Protestant. So he's Christian, but he's definitely not Catholic. They're of a Protestant faith.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Not that that matters, I'm just curious, but
Yeah.
um but I found it really interesting because there's this whole kind of the hypocrisy that we touched on before is that Margot is kind of damned if she does and damned if she doesn't in the context of abortion. There's a lot in the book about how and in the series as well, her professor assumes that she's going to get an abortion. Her mum encourages her to have one. And her mum doesn't want, when she does choose to have the baby, her mum wants her to meet Kenny and doesn't want her to mention that she's got a child. She'd rather keep that secret from him. But then when you think of how religious he is, you think, well, how would he have felt if she'd had an abortion? So she can't win either way. And I think the sort of religious aspects are so interesting, and the way Kenny's brain kind of works is that really insufferable scene in Applebee's where they're having dinner together and he does this whole does this really like emboldened speech about like or most girls would cry rape, but you've not, you've had the child and you've taken accountability for all of that. And I just thought, no, I
Right. And that
can't bear it.
I know, but that goes back to where we started, where we were talking about how patient Margot is. Like, what a
Yes.
good daughter she is, because they do show that her face is like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
an outer limits conversation.
And her
But
mum
she
is even
just,
doing the look at her. Her mum knows that it's not right what he's saying, but she's not. It's so strange because her mum is so outspoken, but
yeah,
not when it comes to Kenny.
exactly, exactly, because she needs to feel that security from him. So yeah, I think that relationship and that examination of religion is a really interesting part of this. I think it's such a nuanced book. It's got so many strands that it weaves together, but it does it quite effortlessly. And I think that the adaptation is the same. You don't realize that you're thinking about so many things at one time. You're just following a really great yarn.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I was thinking like, oh my God, and there's this theme and there's this and there's this dynamic and there is so much that I honestly think we could talk about this for hours on end. We would be here all day if we dissected every part of it. So this is probably, very chaotic in the way that I'm doing things, but I'm trying to get through everything, guys. But I really wanted to go back to the sex and sexuality of it all. And we did obviously mention the conversation between her and Susie that I thought was great. But I also loved her dad. So I want to talk about the conversations around OnlyFans and the individual reactions that people have to her starting an OnlyFans. And we have her dad walking in on her and Susie in the series and thinking he's being really progressive, seeing them having photos together. And thinking, he's like, it's okay if that's what you do. And she's like, actually, no, this is what I'm doing. And he sort of has this moment where he explodes. I thought that back and forth between them was so brilliantly done. And Margot saying, I have a baby that needs providing for, you don't get to judge me. And then him kind of coming round to comparing it to wrestling and saying, well, we're all entertaining in one way or another. I thought that was really beautifully explored. So I think, what were your thoughts on her dad's reaction first of all?
I really, really enjoyed that. And I think it's part of this construction that I talked about earlier that I just loved, was that setting him up as somebody who is an entertainer and who would be able to have that about face after
Mhm.
having a parental reaction, which is like, oh
Yes.
my God, no, no daughter of mine. I thought that was a really clever way to frame it and to make that relatable to people. I still get hot, like genuinely, when I even think about a parent walking into any sphere like that, I actually want to pass out.
I think that's so fair. That's so fair because as soon as he walked in, me and my boyfriend were like, no,
Yeah.
what's he gonna say? But then it had a
Exactly.
really, I think what you were saying before, about how everything sort of is like this yarn that leads on to the next thing. And then, he goes from that to actually being present in the house that they're all filming in and creating in. And he's like, if you get to any of the sort of body stuff, I'm just gonna head on out and but
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
so supportive, he's showing them all the stunts and things like that. And then, he says that, he'll give them some privacy when they need it. And it's just really nice to see that kind of journey that he goes on in terms of like, accepting it. Like you can understand his reaction as a parent is that instant, no, 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 no child of mine. And then it's like he really sort of takes a second and goes, actually, this isn't wildly different from what he was doing using his body as a wrestler and as a form of entertainment.
Yeah. And do you know what else I like about it? It's a very positive portrayal of a man. It doesn't make him
Yes.
prurient in any way. It makes him able to compartmentalize and see women for what they are. It really is. He's a very benevolent man, isn't he? The
Yeah,
way he's portrayed. Yeah.
yeah, he's a really positive figure. And I mean, I do think Nick Offerman did a wonderful job as that character because I think that's the only thing in terms of casting where the description didn't quite match up because in the
Yeah.
book he's described as like severely underweight. And then you have Nick Offerman who's quite a bulky, man. But I can't imagine anybody else playing that character now. I think he did such a beautiful job of bringing him to life.
Yeah.
He's
Agree.
yeah, gorgeous. I think I want to say about the mother's reaction.
Hmm.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So the mother, and especially Michelle Pfeiffer's portrayal of the mother, really
Hmm.
struggles with Margot doing this, and in the book has even a harsher reaction
Yes.
to yeah to putting some real space between her and Margot. Not only because she's concerned, as you said, about her relationship with Kenny and what he will think as a Christian to her daughter engaging in these types of activities, but also just being a woman. And I think having been a woman who worked in I was just going to say the American phrase for this, which is so disgusting, I won't say it, but like in a Hooters where she's
Yeah.
in a tight cropped t-shirt and
Yeah.
probably showing some significant underboob, a woman who has been objectified and who knows what that is all about and probably went about it in a less empowered way is really projecting a lot of shame onto Margot.
Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
big projection, isn't it? And I thought it was really interesting the choices that they'd made between the book and the adaptation in terms of in the book, their relationship isn't actually as close
Not at
at
all.
all.
Yeah.
Margot doesn't even go to a mum's wedding,
Right.
whereas in the series we have this really like beautiful exploration of their dynamic where it is, there are moments of intense arguments and there are moments of, a mum telling her to get out the car so she can scream, which is an amazing scene by the way. But we have the typical traits of a mother-daughter relationship, and then we have this really beautiful closeness, all the
Mhm.
scenes in Vegas, we have all of that. But there's the screaming match on screen was just, I thought it was incredible. Her mum saying to her, I didn't raise you to do filthy things like that. And she's saying, nobody will help your sorry ass now that you're doing this. It's really brutal, harsh things that I think can kind of only be said between a mother and daughter and eventually be forgiven.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth? It's such a profound relationship. I'm fascinated with mother daughter relationships
Me
in general,
too.
and
Yeah.
especially in books, because there is so much of that, right? Like your mother can be your biggest champion and your biggest critic at the same time. And you're
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
hundred percent, 100%.
Yeah.
I think as well, just thinking back to her mum having experienced being a waitress at Hooters, I think there's a really interesting comparison that Margot draws, I think in the book, and she says that most people perceive sex work as dehumanizing, but actually waitressing is dehumanizing, and yet people think that that's a more kind of appropriate job.
Right. Right.
And anyone that's worked in, retail or hospitality would tell you that she's absolutely right. It is dehumanizing working those jobs. You aren't really supported. You aren't, you can get spoken to terribly by customers. You can get treated terribly. There's this whole thing in the book about how, she's clearly not protected working in this restaurant because the chef puts his on a plate surrounded in parsley.
Right. Right.
So is that not just the same as the potential of what could happen online? Like,
Absolutely. And that you're doing this for tips, right? Like your level of being pleasing, and especially as a female server, is
hmm
directly related to the income that you take at the end of the day. And
yes.
whenever you work in hospitality, there are no boundaries. Like you have to stay as long as people are staying in your space. You
Oh,
have
yeah.
so little agency. It's a very complex job. And probably like sex work, it has all the benefits too. Like it's convivial, it's fun. You can get great clients and love them. But the minute that turns, it's like, oh God.
Oh my God, 100%.
Yeah.
I feel hot thinking about my time in hospitality. It's just, yeah, the times when you'd be like, oh, I was supposed to have finished my shift now. And they're like, honey, you've got a full section. You're not going
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You're
God
here
forbid
until
a
they
girl has
go.
plans.
Yeah.
I really want to talk about. I mean, we've sort of mentioned the casting of it, but there are a few people that we haven't mentioned. There is Nicole Kidman.
Oh wow. Of course. Like such a big name in lights.
I did wonder if Nicole Kidman had originally gone up for the mum role.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did wonder that. I mean, I think Michelle Pfeiffer was perfect, and I think Michelle Pfeiffer and Elle Fanning were a great pairing. I really felt their chemistry, but I did wonder if that's why Nicole Kidman was in there because forgive me if I'm wrong, but in the book I don't know if there's a mention of this character
No, I didn't think that either. But
because
then I was like, I may need to blow the dust out of my brain, but I didn't recall her. No.
no, there's because Jinx in the book, he steps away from wrestling himself, but he manages Murder and Mayhem, I think they're called. And I wondered if when they have that whole scene in the series where she's in the ring, I was like, is she supposed to be one of those people that he used to manage?
Right.
Didn't quite understand that translation, but that's the only thing I thought she could have been. But then obviously she is the attorney that helps Margo throughout the process in terms of the custody battle. But I thought she was brilliant. She was so intense as well. There's a couple of moments where she's like head to head with
Yeah. Yeah. I know. She really was brilliant. She's very colorful in it. Literally, like her wardrobe is amazing too.
the
Some of those
green
suits, I was
suit.
like, where did they get these? This is
Yes.
incredible. I really liked her character, but it's funny because I think the strength of Elle Fanning, Nick Offerman, and Michelle Pfeiffer, Nicole Kidman is almost recessive, which is like
Yeah.
never something that you would ever say about
Yes.
her star power.
No, absolutely. They
Yeah.
really are top tier casting. The three of them, I can't imagine anyone else playing those roles. And you're right, Nicole Kidman is obviously such a powerhouse of an actor, and then for her to come into this and be sort of secondary is quite a skill in a way. We also have Michael Angarano as Mark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great, even the way he held himself.
So wet, right? Like he's
So
so
wet. That's such a perfect way of describing it.
yeah.
But I think he was. I don't know how you felt about him in the book in comparison to the series, because in the book, I felt like he had a bit more about him. Like he didn't seem as insufferable in the book.
I agree. I thought, especially at the end, he went over a little bit too much into being such a milk toast. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And he really, they have this affair, of course, and he cuts this affair off after they've had sex 5 times, which is so specific, but they can still email.
Yeah.
This is just a man that doesn't know what he wants.
No. You know what was interesting on screen is it starts with some fairly spicy sex scenes. And I can tell you this because, as I said, I watched this with my parents, and you would think that you would grow out of this level of mortification, but I was like,
No.
oh God. And they're really having, like, Margo and the professor are having a lot of sex at the
Hmm.
beginning. But it was sort of hard for me to buy that he was sexy. That's the thing about him being so insufferable, was I was like, I can't even see him being capable of giving that level of an orgasm. Like, he's just so like,
Yeah, yeah, really
yeah,
gross. I didn't find the appeal in him at all. And I was really working hard to figure out why I thought she would have gone from him in the first place, besides the fact that he really appreciated her work and sort of celebrated her work and like made her feel really good about herself as a kind of creative. And
yeah.
I think that really appealed to her. So it's I mean, I'm worried I'm going to say something degrading now in terms of, the pipeline where she went from having him talk about her work in that way, and then she went on to do own fans and wanted, these fans of her work. I don't know. Am I being reductive in the way that I'm talking about that? I don't know.
Not at all. I think he did. He set her up for that, telling her how,
Yeah.
like, she was so gifted and he saw her gifts and she could go all the way. And then to have this fall, but this sense of, I can be somebody who is, I guess, at the center of my own story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have his mum, Elizabeth, played by, is it Marcia or Marcia Gay Harden? What a villain.
She is, especially at the end when she has her jaw wired shut. She actually looks like Lockjaw from James Bond, like as she's talking. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. I
Yeah.
mean, I think Ruthie Thorpe did an incredible job of writing that character. And, as soon as she kind of appears in the book, you immediately feel on edge, like this cannot end well. But I do think that actor did a brilliant job of bringing that character to life on screen. And I think, there were so many interesting changes made between the book and the screen adaptation. And one of them was, of course, that Margot's mum ends up hitting because that's not in the book, is it?
No, no, it's
No,
not.
she really gets to.
Yeah.
Shall we get into the sort of big changes between the book and the screen adaptation? I don't know if you've got any noted down. I've got some here that we can kind of bat off, but if you've got any to hand, you
I
can.
have the one giant one that I'm sure is at the top of your list, which is the disappearance of the love interest,
Yes,
which is a really bold choice, right? To
very
be like,
bold.
let's just focus on her without a partner, I think is really, that's quite modern in and of itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do think it works. It worked for the series. And we had a very small glimpse at the end of him being introduced. There was the fan, got a new fan notification came up, and the payment from him came up, and it said in the icon JB. And I was like, oh, okay. And then felt really clever telling my boyfriend, like, oh, this is who he was in the book, and blah, blah, blah. And I know that last month it was announced that it is being renewed for a season two. So I wonder if they're saving that storyline for season two.
Yeah, I think so. I read at the start when I noticed that he was missing, I read an article that said, oh, they chose this intentionally to set her up as an independent character. But I think definitely with season two, they're going to have to bring him in
Yeah.
and make that a feature. I I am curious to see how season two could go. I feel like we're through the majority of the story, so they are going to have to add all sorts of shenanigans, I think.
Yeah, I do think as well it would have worked as just the one season. I can see why they want to continue it, and it's clearly had great success. They've all been sort of nominated for various awards, and it's had this amazing Rotten Tomatoes score, and obviously the casting of it. I can see the appeal of wanting to continue it, but I do think it would have worked as just a kind of limited. That is limited series is what they call it when it's just one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
agree.
do. I do think it would have worked like that. Oh, I also wanted to ask what you thought of the ending of the book in terms of JB. Do you need me to remind you? The business plan,
But I was like, uh-huh.
the whole business plan that he presents to her.
That's right. Yes. I think that I probably have blanked that out somewhat because I don't think I like that interference. I like
I
Margo
didn't.
as more of an independent operator, right? Like that is a little bit mansplaining, JB.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. We don't like that, hon. Back off. We've got a
Yeah.
successful business here. What's going on? No, I agree. I wasn't a big fan of that ending. I was a big fan of the ending of the series.
Me too. Everything about, do you know what really made me very tearful was Michelle Pfeiffer, which I suppose I should say very quickly, because she's got an edge to her in this
Hmm.
series, the baby doesn't take to her as quickly.
Yeah.
And there's a big scene in the courtroom where they pass the baby from caregiver to caregiver to see if he's happy or has any reaction. And she's like absolutely bricking it because she's worried that the baby won't respond to her. And when he does, I think that's a very sweet and tender moment. And I know it's probably a little bit hackneyed, but it pulled on whatever heartstrings I have.
Yeah, it was so beautiful that moment. That really moved me actually. And that
Yeah.
is that is a big change from the book to
Yes.
screen because in the book it doesn't get as far as the court.
You're right. Exactly. Exactly.
So I do think it was an interesting choice. I think it did work, and I know that TV and film love a court scene. So I think it could have been a bit of that in there, that it's this sort of dramatic ending, and the business ending in the book didn't work for me. I love the book, but that is just one aspect of it where I was like, oh, meh, that's a bit of a rubbish ending to it, which I felt awful about because I think this is a really original story and the characters in it are all brilliant, but that was one thing for me that I was like, not really a fan of this ending. But the series, it was great. It worked.
Yeah.
It really worked. Also, I felt really moved by my boyfriend was like, "Why are you getting tearful over that, you loser?" When when Susie hands her the remote to control the camera.
Oh my God. See, again, I actually got chills. Yes, that is so funny. You can tell your boyfriend that plus one, I was in
But
the
she
same space.
literally hands her the remote to control the camera, to have that control, and says, "I'm leaving the room now," and goes out of the room so she can present her vagine.
Yes, exactly, exactly, and go for like the proper money shot, right? Like
Yes.
it's really cool, and it's so artful. The whole setup is just amazing.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
really beautiful end to the show. I really loved that. And I think, the book could have really played on that, final presentation.
yeah.
Such a gorgeous, gorgeous ending. I do want to rattle off a few things. I'm aware of time. I'm sorry, Amanda. There is, as we said, so much to talk about.
I love it.
I want to just mention the court scene. I don't know who the actor is that plays the judge, but I was cackling from the moment he entered.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of terrifying, right? Like too much energy. I was like, "Whoa, get this guy away from me!" Yeah,
Completely frantic energy about him. He's like pacing up and down the courtroom. He's like, you stand up, tell me this. Did I ask you this? No. Like, it was it was so chaotic and intense, but I absolutely loved it. I thought it was brilliant. And I
yeah.
loved that Mark kind of needed somebody like him to make him realize the complete error in judgment that he's had.
Yes, exactly.
He's such an iconic character, the judge. I think I'm trying to think now of like anything that we might have missed. Have you got anything that you would like to rattle off in terms of favorite moments or things that you weren't a fan of?
Do you know another favorite moment that I had, and you're not going to be surprised because again, I'm going to invoke Susie, the the hero of my life. Was there's a scene after Jinx relapses, and he goes specifically to the flat that Susie and Margot live in to apologize to Susie, which I actually don't know that I think that this scene is in the book. And I should
It's
say for
not,
anyone,
no.
it's not right. Susie is like his biggest fan, and she is a fan before she meets him, and I think that is faithful to the book. But he knows that he has wounded her because she's elevated him so much, and they are really complicit in helping Margot. And so to have him apologize to her in the book and the way that she handled that apology, she has the common sense to know we can't have an addict in the house, and he endangered us, and more crucially, he endangered this baby, and there needs to
Yes.
be consequences for that. But at the same time, you can see how much she loves him and how much that apology means. She's kind of trying to play it cool. And I loved it.
Yeah, and it was really moving because she does tear up and says, you really scared me.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually do think this was a really great change between the book and the TV series because obviously in the book, when he relapses, and I just want to say as well, I do think they handle the exploration of addiction and relapse and how he does take accountability for his actions and stuff. I really appreciated the way they explored that. But in the book, Margot breaks the bathroom door down and shuts the door fall really quickly. So Susie doesn't even see him in the bath in the way that in the
Right.
state that he's in. And I
Right.
do think, Susie coming in and helping her and that whole moment, it was really moving because what it just shows how much of a wonderful person Susie is, that she will go to these lengths for her friend. And you've got the two housemates that they had before who came in screaming
Ugh,
at 2 a.m. because God forbid a child cries.
yeah.
But then Susie's reaction all along has been completely supportive. She's helped her with Bodhi from the start. She's supported her with her OnlyFans and helping her take photos. And then, she's also supportive of her dad and his relapse and, how they navigate that and how they have to navigate the CPS visit following
Hmm.
the relapse. The whole bath scene was really well done.
Yeah, it was. It's really intense. And I think it just also makes you have such empathy for people who are in relationships with addicts too. Like I
Yes.
agree with you. I think it represents addiction very faithfully
Hmm.
and very non-judgmentally. And I think that that
Yes.
is important. But at the same time, people who find their parents, their loved ones in situations like that suffer enormously. And I think that that does come out in that bath scene. But the other thing that I loved is after Jinx apologizes to Susie and she accepts his apology tentatively. He goes along his way, and you just see like a barely imperceptible spring in his step that he feels like he's gone a long way towards making that amends. And that's very
Yeah.
special too. It's subtle. Susie's an interesting character because Margot's friends in the book are heinous. Like she's got the one friend who is just Jen, who's an enemy and who is not portrayed well in the series either. And then she has those two roommates that you discussed who leave very early because they can't hack living with a new mom and a crying baby.
Yes.
And Susie's a little bit like she's not in the foreground. In the book, she's a little bit more in the background, just being a silent champion, and then she just emerges.
Yes.
So I love that what Susie in the series does is I think she captures the emotion of a reader who has read that book and has been like, who's the one? Susie. And then the series, they just like put her
You
out in
guys need
front.
to look at Susie because
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah, no, she did a beautiful job, and I think it's really funny because the three different directors of the series, I believe, and one of them is Dervla Walsh, I think is how you say her name, and she directed four of the 8 episodes. And she was also a director on Bad Sisters, which is what the actor that plays Susie was in as well. And this was in Bad Sisters, she was totally different. And I'm really curious what Dervla Walsh saw in the actor that she was like, you know what? You would be great for this. It's such a
Yeah,
complete change. But yeah, she was amazing. I also want to say is one of my favorite moments is Vegas, which I think I briefly mentioned before.
yeah,
But obviously, that is a huge change. We don't have the wedding in the book, but we do have the sort of conversation that Margot's mum has with Margo about how she'd sneak out at night and go and gamble and then be back in bed before Kenny had even woken up. But in the TV series, we actually see this montage of Margo and her mum having all this fun together and gambling together and drinking together and dancing. And there's so much joy in that, which is really nice. And I think it's balanced really well with the arguments that they have and the kind of fallouts that they have. So yeah, I really just wanted to mention that.
that is a great scene. And do you know what else is interesting about that scene is how quickly it's interrupted. So you're in the at the height of seeing them be so girlish together and having this wonderful time, and then they're having a very lovely gift exchange.
Hmm.
And then it just turns, right? There's an admission and everything goes to shit. And you can just feel that break.
There's a really beautiful moment that's like directly before, and they do that gift exchange. There's something, I do not know the phrase of this. Is it something new, something borrowed, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue? They do that
Yeah.
whole exchange, and Margot's mum says, "I love this so much," and Margot says, "I love you so much," or something like that, and it's so beautiful. And then straight away we have it
Yeah.
interrupted, and we have this really vicious row. But I don't think it didn't spoil anything necessarily because I think, we see that her mum will always have her back, which I don't think we see at all in the book. We don't really get that idea of their relationship. I don't think we really feel that element of love.
No, I don't think so. Her mom is a bit more challenging in the book for sure. She's a much spikier version. of
Yeah.
a mother. Yeah,
Oh,
much more
100%.
critical. Yeah.
100%. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to mention?
I don't think so. I just really liked it. I found it so. I just loved Elle Fanning in this. I have to tell you, I found her lovable, and
Fantastic.
I found her. People say this about performances a lot, like it was a very brave performance. But I thought she was really putting herself out there, even in terms of some of the scenes and being a mother in the way. Like I've never been a mother, but when you're nipples are sore from breastfeeding and you're wearing, you're just like walking around with your boobs out in the air because you're in pain or you've got the cabbage leaves on. Like she just looked like a real woman and I enjoyed it so much. I thought she really did brilliantly. And I'm so pleased that she's getting the positive attention she's getting for this.
100%. Can you hear
Yeah,
me okay? I have just had to change my mic over. Can you hear me still?
I can. It changed ever so slightly, but not in
Okay.
a bad way. Yeah.
Sorry about that, listeners.
No.
So I just want to touch on that as well because I do think the really interesting thing of watching the final season of Euphoria and this back to back was I made a comment when me and my boyfriend were watching Euphoria, and I was like, we are seeing so much of Sydney Sweeney's body so often, and it feels uncomfortable. And I'm not a prude at all, but I was like,
Hmm.
this feels uncomfortable in the way that it's being shot and whatever's going on here. I don't really like it, and I don't feel comfortable with it. But then in Margo's Got Money Troubles, we see Elle Fanning's breasts so often. And I never felt uncomfortable. I thought, how beautiful that, she's just feeding her child or she's got the frozen lettuce leaves on her boobs. And, there was, I don't know, I just really liked the way that it was shot and the way that her body was presented. I don't
Yeah.
really know how best to describe it, but I just thought it was handled really beautifully.
I couldn't agree with you more. And maybe it comes from you saying that Dervla Walsh, you've got a woman who's behind the camera
Hmm.
looking at it, but it was a celebration of being a woman and being maternal. And I don't even mean to fetishize being a mother because there was just something about the beauty of being a woman and being able to handle so much and do it with a level of grace and
Yes.
resilience. I thought it was just genius.
I feel like we could honestly talk about this for a long bloody time. It's a brilliant series, and I honestly, listeners, I cannot recommend this enough. Please go and watch it if you haven't already, and read the book, of course, if you haven't read it. And come and let me and Amanda know what your thoughts are. I'm sure we would both love to hear from you. Amanda, I have so loved our conversation, but I do want to finish by asking if there's anything you'd like to recommend and if there's anything that you'd like to plug.
Oh, wow. Anything I'd like to plug or recommend? I have had the most brilliant reading year. I almost couldn't even like, there are so many things. But I would say that for people who liked this series and or book, I think Lost Lambs is probably up your
Mm.
street. And that's by Madeline Cash. It's very funny. It has these intricate family relationships. It kind of has also, I put it in my head as being set in California. I think it's probably a good one for people who might be thinking along these lines.
And I haven't got to it yet, so I must. I remember hearing you talk about this on your podcast, and it sounded excellent. So I'm really looking forward to getting to that. Amanda, thank you so much for joining me today. I knew I'd love chatting to you, and I really have done. And I'm so glad that we both enjoyed it because it would have been
Exactly.
so tragic if we hadn't.
I know it'd be like, disagree.
I hate it. But no, genuinely, thank you so much. And for the listeners, I will be popping links in the show notes to go listen to the wonderful Curious Readers podcast, which is hosted by Amanda and her co-host Joseph, and of course to Amanda's Instagram, where she reviews a wide range of amazing books and always has the best recommendations. So go find Amanda there. Thank you so much again, Amanda. I've said thank you 100 times, but yeah, I really enjoyed this, so thank you.
This is such an ideal way to spend the evening. It's been a joy. I love this.
Thank you. And thank
Yeah.
you, listeners, for listening. Goodbye.